Hello, everyone. Welcome to a higher dimension. It's Gloria from Gloria Danvers Hypnosis, and I'm your host for this podcast. I've missed you all, and being sick is no fun. So please watch where you are and where you're going, because there's some nasty knock you on your butt stuff going around, and it can come on fast. A few weeks ago, one day I was moving through my life, doing what I was doing, and the next day I was flat on my back, coughing my lungs up. But that's over now, finally, and I'm here with a brand new topic. In this podcast, we've explored different scenarios and angles of why a soul might choose a particular lifetime with all its challenges, even when it seems to be at odds with what the human wants or thinks is beneficial. And today I'm going to talk about one facet of that, and it's a pretty sensitive topic. How you choose your body. And yeah, turn it up. You're going to want to hear this. Now, I could talk to 100 people every day about their physical appearance, and 99 of them would tell me that they hate their bodies. If I compliment them on something physical, they have to tell me that it's not really that great. And let's not focus on that. Let's look at what they hate about themselves. And with all your spiritual seeking and all the ways that you try to better yourself as a soul having a human experience, this may be something that you've shied away from altogether. It's a tough subject. Our physical appearance is a sensitive issue. But there are deeper reasons why we come in the way we do, other than just our genetic lottery. As we choose our lifetime, we choose our physical appearance and all of the things that go with that as well. And all of the things that go with that as well. And whether you can see it or not, this body that you inhabit, this wonderful vehicle, you chose specifically to help you with your spiritual development. So let me ask you this. What if your body isn't random? What if it's not a punishment either? What if your body is strategic? Not perfect, not convenient, strategic. And what if, and this is the part that changes everything, sometimes we choose a body that looks like the opposite of what we think we want, because the soul isn't here to have an easy time. It is here to magnify itself. It is here to become something else. In a world that lists physical appearance over intelligence or compassion, that's a hard thing to swallow. A, the fact that you may not like your body or the way it performs. B, that you chose it for that very reason. So maybe you didn't choose stamina because you were meant to conquer the world. Maybe you chose a body that gets tired because you were meant to learn how to lead without burning yourself alive. Maybe you didn't choose confidence in your appearance. Maybe you chose a body that makes you self-conscious so that you can stop living for the approval of people who don't even know you. Maybe you didn't choose a calm nervous system. Maybe you chose a body that feels everything because you're meant to develop discernment, boundaries, and spiritual authority. In other words, your body might not be your obstacle. Your body might be your initiation. Some of you are like, okay, Gloria, that sounds wonderful, but you don't know what I'm dealing with. And you're right. I don't know the specifics of your body. I don't know your pain, your fatigue, your diagnosis, your history, your triggers, your grief, your body image stuff, your hormones, your nervous system, I don't know the exact shape of that. But I do know what happens when someone stops seeing their body as an enemy and starts seeing it as an ally. And the message is not, well, you just suffer and smile. The message is more like, hey, there's something here that you're meant to grow into. So today again, we're talking about reincarnation, soul choice, and the body blueprint through the lens of what I call the opposite choice strategy. Why a soul might choose the harder body, the weirder body, the sensitive body, the slow to heal body, and how that body can be perfectly built to push you into the life that you actually came here to live. Let me put a couple of things on the table for you. First, you do not have to believe in reincarnation to get something out of this. You can treat it like a metaphor, a spiritual hypothesis, or simply a different way of looking at your life. Because even if you don't believe the soul chose your body, you still live in it. And the relationship that you have with your body affects everything. Confidence, relationships, ambition, peace, the ability to feel safe, and so much more. And second, we're not doing spiritual bypassing over here. I'm not going to tell someone with a chronic illness, disability, trauma stored in the body, or long-term pain that it's a gift in that annoying, dismissive way. No, I'm not going to tell you that. But I am going to offer a lens that can bring you back into your own power. What if your body, exactly as it is part of a design? And what if that design is not about comfort, but awakening? Because there's a huge difference between your pain is meaningful and your pain should be tolerated. Meaning does not cancel out support. Meaning does not cancel out medical care. Meaning does not cancel out grief. The only thing it changes is the way that you hold the experience. And let's talk about the body blueprint. In metaphysical terms, you can imagine the soul choosing a life like choosing a curriculum. Not because it wants to suffer or because it needs to pay for something, but because it wants to grow into something real. And the body is not just the container. The body is a teacher. The body is a timer. The body is a boundary system. The body is a signal device for alignment and truth. We can pretend we're fine all day long, but your body will eventually be like, oh no, we're not fine. Sit down. And if you go with this idea, the soul might choose a body based on things like how sensitive your nervous system is, how fast you recover, how much energy you have, how your emotions move through you, what kind of genetics you inherit, what you're vulnerable to, what you're naturally gifted at. And yes, the big dog in the room, your appearance. Because appearance shapes experience. It shapes how people treat you, how safe you feel, what doors open, what doors close, what assumptions are thrown on you, and what you have to learn about your own identity. So the blueprint isn't just physical. It's social, emotional, energetic, karmic, and familial. And I'm sure you know by now the soul doesn't always choose the body that matches the fantasy of the life. It chooses the body that matches the initiation of the life. And that's why people get stuck. Because the human part of us is like, if I'm meant to lead, I should be strong. If I'm meant to be seen, I should be beautiful. If I'm meant to love, I should be easygoing. If I'm meant to teach, I should be confident. But the soul choosing your body will say, no. You are meant to lead, so you're going to learn power without force. Yes, you are meant to be seen, so you're going to learn visibility without vanity. Oh yes, you are meant to love, so you're going to learn devotion without losing yourself. And most important, you're meant to teach, so you're going to learn truth without needing validation. And the body becomes the pressure cooker where that gets forged. There's another aspect I mentioned before, opposite choice. Sometimes the soul chooses conditions that create the exact friction needed to break all patterns, because growth doesn't happen when everything is easy. Growth happens when something inside you says, I cannot keep living the way I have been living. If a soul intends to develop leadership, it might choose a body that gets exhausted easily, a body that forces pacing, a body that demands boundaries, a body that makes you ask for help, a body that humbles the ego. And here's where I want to slow down just for a second, because leadership isn't just doing a lot. Leadership is not, I can carry everything and everyone and never need anything. Leadership is directing energy with wisdom. Leadership is holding the line. Leadership is making decisions even when you're tired. Leadership is choosing what matters. A strong body can create a life of achievement, but a limited body can create a life of mastery. And mastery is a different frequency than achievement. So instead of asking, why am I like this? The soul lens asks, what is this designed to bring out of me? In other words, if you got the body that you wanted, you might never become the person you came here to be. That's a tough thing to admit. So let's make this real, because it's easy to talk about soul stuff in an abstract way, and everybody's nodding, but then you go back to your life and you're like, oh, cool theory. My body still hurts. So let me give you a few archetypes. And while I'm talking, just notice the one that takes residence in your chest just a little. For example, the low energy body. And I am going to raise my hand on that one. If your body doesn't give you unlimited energy, the lesson may be boundaries, and I mean real boundaries, not I'm setting boundaries while still doing everything and resenting everyone. I'm talking about the kind of boundaries where you stop negotiating with your limits. Some people are built with the kind of energy that they can run on fumes and adrenaline for decades. And that looks impressive, right until it doesn't. But if you have a body that says, nope, if you push me, I'm going to crash, that's not necessarily a failure. That might be the soul saying, we're not doing the lifetime where we prove our worth through depletion. This body forces you to learn pacing, saying no without guilt, choosing quality over quantity, and receiving help. And the big one, not measuring your value by productivity. And I'll tell you something. A lot of people call themselves lazy when they're actually exhausted from living a life their nervous system never agreed to. So sometimes your low energy isn't a character flaw. Sometimes it's a course correction. And when I raised my hand on that one, I'm speaking for myself. These are all lessons that I've had to learn, and they've taken me a lifetime. But learning these lessons transformed the way that I treat myself, the way that I think about others, and the way that I understand the true purpose of my own life. Now there is the anxious or highly sensitive body. And that's the sensitive nervous system, that body that feels everything. If your system is reactive and tender, highly aware, easily overwhelmed, the real lesson here for you is discernment. Sensitivity without boundaries becomes suffering. Sensitivity with boundaries becomes spiritual technology. Because a sensitive system can read rooms, oh yes. A sensitive system can feel truth. A sensitive system can detect distortion. A sensitive system can be deeply intuitive. But if you don't have boundaries, you'll call it anxiety, and you'll think something is wrong with you. All the while you're just absorbing energy like a sponge with no handle. And the opposite choice strategy here is this. You might have chosen a sensitive body because you're meant to stop living in places, relationships, and environments that require you to abandon yourself. This body says, oh, you don't get to betray your own knowing anymore. The body that doesn't fit society's standards, that's the hot button one. If you've struggled with body image or being judged, worst of all, judging yourself, or never feeling like you fit the mold, this can be one of the most painful soul initiations there is, because it forces sovereignty. It forces identity beyond appearance. It forces you to build self-worth that does not depend on approval. And it can pull you out of performative living. Because some people, if they were effortlessly acceptable by society's rules, might never confront how much of their life is built around being chosen, being liked, and being wanted. So the soul may choose a body that doesn't let you skate by on outside validation. Not because you're being punished, but because you came here to be free. And freedom is not the same as being admired. And now, chronic pain and chronic illness patterns. And with chronic pain or illness, I tread very carefully here. I am not saying that you chose pain, congratulations. No. But sometimes, in the soul's lens, the body becomes the messenger that will not be ignored. And it forces you into truth. Truth about your pace. Truth about your relationships. Truth about your stress. Truth about your yes when you really mean no. Truth about the places that you're trying to live in that your spirit has outgrown. Sometimes the body is trying to redirect you away from a path that looks good on paper, but kills you slowly. And the body says, no, this isn't it. And if you've ever had a moment where your body broke down and afterwards you realize that your whole life was misaligned, you know what I mean? Again, meaning doesn't cancel support. You can honor the message and still get help. And in my opinion, honoring the message often makes the help work better. Because clarity makes the mind and the body partners in healing. Now, the gifted body, the beauty, the strength, yeah, that's an initiation too. And let's talk about the bodies that people assume are easy. If you have strength, beauty, charisma, magnetism, those are gifts, yes, but you'd better believe that they are also tests. Because with power comes a question. Will you use this with integrity? Will you confuse attention with love? Will you build identity around something temporary? Will you control others because you can? Will you be unkind to people from your own state of perceived perfection? Will you be so complacent with your outside appearance that you let your compassion and emotional intelligence wither on the vine? These are big questions. A gifted body can tempt the ego just as much as a limited body can humble it. So either way, there's an initiation. Now here's the pivot that makes this episode hopefully actually useful. I call it wrong body, wrong life. The body just doesn't serve the life that you think you chose. It serves the lesson that you came to embody. So the body might be designed to force you into outcomes like boundaries, sovereignty, courage, humility, devotion, self-trust, receiving, giving, and embodiment. And the way that it forces you to do that might look really unfair from the personality level, but from the soul level, it looks like precision. Now here's a question that I really love. What if the wrong body is actually the exact body that prevents you from living the wrong life? Because some of you, yeah, I'm talking about you, if you had limitless energy, you'd never stop running. You'd never stop performing. You'd never sit down long enough to hear your own soul speak. Some of you, if you were effortlessly beautiful by society's rules, you might never confront how much you've been trained to barter your worth. Some of you, if you've never felt anxiety, you might never develop discernment. You might walk into every energetic mess with your door wide open. So the body becomes the guardian at the gate, not to block your life, but to block your old programming. And now that brings me to a few myths that I want to clear up, because if I don't, your mind is going to argue with me the whole time, and it will miss the point. Myth 1. If I chose this body, then I'm not allowed to be upset. No. The human that you are has feelings, as much as the soul has meaning, and both of those can be true. You can be grieving your body and still learn from it. You can be frustrated and still be faithful to your path. You can want change and still respect where you are. Myth number 2. If it's spiritual, I should just accept it and do nothing. Oh, absolutely not. Acceptance does not mean neglect. Acceptance means you stop wasting energy on self-attack so that you can respond with clarity. Get support. Get care. Get help. Advocate for yourself. This isn't sit in your suffering and call it growth. Myth 3. A hard body means that I did something wrong. Oh, no, 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 honey. Hard does not equal wrong. Hard often equals important. If the soul chooses the opposite on purpose, the friction isn't evidence that you failed. It's evidence that you're in the middle of initiation. Myth number 4. Other people have it easier, so they're more evolved. Oh, please. If you know me, you know how I feel about that one. Some people have easy bodies and hard relationships. Some people have hard bodies and easy relationships. Some have money and no peace. Some have beauty and no safety. Some have health and no self-worth. You cannot measure soul maturity by someone else's surface experience. Now let me ask you a question that might be uncomfortable in a good way. What if you've been treating your body like it's in your way when it's actually trying to steer you? Because as fast as your mind is, the body will always tell the truth faster. The mind will rationalize anything. The body will be like, nope. And another question. What if the fix you've been chasing is actually the final form of the old identity? For example, once I lose the weight, then I'll finally live. Once my anxiety is gone, then I'll finally speak. Once my body's perfect, then I'll finally be loved. But what if your soul is saying, we're not waiting for that? What if the lesson is, live now, speak now, lead now, love now, with the body you have, because that's the body you're meant to awaken inside. And again, I'm not saying that you don't improve health or strength or healing or confidence. I'm saying don't postpone your life until you think you've earned it, because that's not growth. That's you holding yourself captive. And now here's where I want to land this finally. If you've spent years fighting your body, I get it, most of us have. Most people have been taught that the body is something to control, to punish, to perfect, or fix. But if you take this metaphysical lens seriously, your body is not just matter. It's memory. It's mission. It is message. And so sometimes the soul does choose the opposite body on purpose, because the goal was never comfort. The goal was liberation. Liberation from old identities, old survival strategies, old contracts where you had to learn love by suffering. So this is what I would like for you to take from this podcast today. Your body may, in your eyes, be imperfect, but it may be perfectly placed. And the moment you stop asking, what's wrong with me, and start asking, what is this trying to awaken in me, you shift from victim to alchemist. You shift from the helplessly created to the creator. And one more thing, no matter what you think of your body, stop and realize that it is a marvelously constructed capsule that's carrying your soul around. It is the temple that you live in, the garden that you grow in, and the mechanism that nourishes you. It is all that and deserves more than being punished for imagined imperfections. You are perfect. Please don't ever forget that. Because you aren't a human having a spiritual experience. You are a spirit having a human experience. And within the scope of that, please be all that you can be and shine like the star you are. If you want help exploring this in a deeper way through spiritual hypnosis, subconscious work, helping your nervous system to stop living like it's in a war, then you know where to find me. Go to gloriadanvershypnosis.com and book a free consultation. Let's talk about setting you free. And until next time, be gentle with your body. Be honest with your soul. Thank you for joining me here today. And until next week, I'm Gloria Danvers, giving you the insight into higher dimensions. Bye.